Week 3 of the NFL season is upon us, and there's a few very tempting fantasy games, and a lot of them that look absolutely awful. So it is time for the Fantasy Football Gauntlet, where today I'm going to hand build a lineup on DraftKings. We're then going to run the Fantasy Cruncher Optimizer. We're also going to check the Sims on Stochastic, and we'll hit an Underdog Battle Royale, Underdog Pick'em. I'm running out of fingers, and we'll check probably.com for the latest betting data on this week's NFL action. I've got more fingers, 6 of them, in fact, pointing up right now. Let's do all these things, and let's start it out by talking about the slate, the prism of building a single entry here. And yesterday we built a single entry, ended up helping some people out. Shout out to our guy Ben, who actually finished first one of the tournaments on DraftKings, where he took the Ronnie Bell play to heart, made it work for him. Of course, that one was definitely chopped a lot in the tournaments out there. I think ETR had that as one of their highest projected lineups too. So great minds think alike, but shout out to everybody who had some success yesterday. It was definitely nice to see some screenshots. Shout out to the chat as well. GM from Katie, GM from our guy Jason, ready for some Spags knowledge. Yes, I actually looked at my data sheet beforehand, dug in deep, figured out some players that I have to make sure to talk about today. And it all starts this guy in the thumbnails. I've embraced my full Nick Ercolano with my thumbnail creation here. I think this is a week where Justin Jefferson, he's certainly portending to be chalky, certainly looking like he is going to be a guy that'll be in a lot of lineups. I would be very worried about not playing Justin Jefferson, especially in a lot of these formats where obviously the biggest prize pools were on top, because of the fact that I think he is live to have one of the biggest fantasy games of the year at receiver. For a single entry especially, I'm not going to deviate from this one. It is a gigantic total here. You can also see, if you didn't see it before I clicked, 32nd rank OPRK here on DraftKings, which doesn't matter for you as a smart fantasy football player. But what it does tell you is that the casual people, the dads out there don't have any time. The moms out there getting a lineup in between whatever moms do on the weekend, whatever the things that the dads aren't doing. Point being, anybody who's a casual out there is going to put in Justin Jefferson because they see that matchup. They know that he's the best player in the league, or one of them at the receiver position. Also going against a Chargers team that puts up a lot of points defensively, despite having all this talent on defense, not showing a whole lot. On the year, Minnesota going against a Chargers team that gives up 0.61 EPA per slot target, 0.55 EPA out wide. These are some of the worst marks in the league. 0.5 EPA per dropback, 0.51 EPA per pass. QB rushing. Kirk isn't going to run out there. He's not Vanilla Vic like Daniel Jones, who put on such a rushing masterpiece last night as he put up 5 fantasy points. 1.1 on a QB rush is what the EPA is. Point being, the Chargers are bad against everything. So I think this is a spot right away where Justin Jefferson just looks unfadable to me. The question becomes, though, are we going to go with another Kirk stack? Kirk, as we talked about earlier in the week during the Spags rankings and during the Best Ball Review show, right now he's the best fantasy QB in the league. So I think we do keep rolling with Kirk. I don't see why this match would be one where he stops rolling. Again, 31st rank OPRK here on DraftKings means he will be casual bait. But I think for a single entry here, if we're just trying to play the best plays, I think this is what we're going to do. Minnesota, again, the matchup against the Chargers, we talked about a little bit. It's weak everywhere. It may shock you to hear they're also weak defending tight ends, a 0.5 EPA there. So I think TJ Hockenson, who's been rolling pretty hot. Look, this is going to be a very expensive stack. We're going to have to get creative somewhere else. But I do think a Cousins double makes a lot of sense here. I don't want anything to do with the running backs. I also think you could probably chuck in a Jordan Addison if you want. On the year, the Chargers also terrible defending the deep ball. The Chargers are bad across the board. So for right now, Chargers to me, one of the biggest pass game funnels in the league. 8% rate of allowing throws with 20 plus air yards, getting up a 1.4 EPA on those plays. So you're talking about a team that is really not defending any of the things that you don't want to see defended for fantasy football. Like, you want to see wide shots, deep shots, splash plays, some could say. You want to see them being available, and that is going to be the case here. So you can make the case for Addison at his price tag, which is $5,500. I think we're getting a little bit close there. So let's leave out Addison for now. Now, the other side of the equation, too, is that the Chargers offense, of course, really good as well. We've seen them play a little bit against their opponent's strengths, where they didn't run Josh Kelly up the middle a bunch of times last week against Tennessee. Going against Minnesota, though, the way to beat him is going to be however they want to. So I think Josh Kelly is live for resurgence on Stochastic. They're currently having Austin Eckler projected as in. We'll see how that goes. ETR has Eckler as out. Stochastic has Eckler is in. I think Eckler is trending closer to being out. But if we're going to assume that Josh Kelly is going and Eckler is not, let's check the latest news item, because he remains sidelined. That was what I thought. I think let's just put in Josh Kelly here. We'll assume that he goes. Obviously, I'm going to reserve the right if Eckler's in and take Josh Kelly out. But at 5,400, after he used the chalk bust last week, I think in single entry in particular, this looks pretty good to go to Josh Kelly here at running back. That said, I am not done stacking this game. I think that we need to get one more receiver in here. And I've talked about one guy who has stood out to me as somebody that I kind of wrote off a little bit as an older receiver, a guy that also I just felt the ADP was a little bit too high. He is paying off that ADP in spades. Keenan Allen just looking fantastic on the year, getting 10.5 and 10 touches per game. That includes 1 rush per game. Overall, getting targeted downfield more as well. 1.5 deep targets per game, which he's been crushing with the 1.5 EPA. He's going against the Minnesota team that is also bad defending downfield, also bad defending against the pass. 0.04 EPA per dropback, 0.04 EPA per pass, and a 0.01 EPA per rush. So they're basically allowing a positive play and above average play every single play you put against them. So that is why we are also going to throw in Keenan Allen here and see how much money we have left. We have now eaten up an incredible amount of salary, a fantastic amount of salary. So let's go and let's plug in a defense right away. Who is a defense that could get us some results? The Cardinals have been pretty tough. Obviously, Dallas, a more efficient team than anybody they faced. Josh Allen, certainly been prone to mistakes lately. Washington, able to get some decent pass rush at times. I think the Cardinals, though, at 2,300 will be one way here that we can get the salary down a little bit. And we're going to have to find a cheap receiver here. Who is a cheap receiver that can matter this week? This is the tough part. You soak the like button. Madison week instead. That is a ballsy take. If you get that one right, you'll be crushing it. And that would be sort of a natural lever against the Jefferson chalk, potential Hawkinson chalk as well. But we have spent a lot of money here, so I basically need like a 3K receiver. Let's go over to Stochastic real fast. This is cheating. I know we normally don't look at the projections, but I just want to get a cheap value guy in here who's going to give me something. Could go, ooh. So I do think the Miami-Denver game is kind of interesting. I was going to talk about Javonte Williams, but Javonte is probably too expensive to make this roster, right? Unless we go, can we go 3K? All right, let's put Javonte Williams in. Let me explain why Javonte Williams stands out. So Javonte, I'm searching by formula. Hold on one sec. So Javonte on the year has not looked great overall. Still getting a lot of touches, though, getting 17 and 10 touches per game, 29.5 snaps. So basically, they're giving him a touch every time that he's actually on the field for the most part. Samaje Perine playing more snaps per game at 31. I guess we could go to him as a little bit of a savings, though. He is only getting 8.5 and 10 touches per game. So the matchup against Miami on the year giving up a 0.2 EPA per rush, worst mark in the league. Red zone rush, also a 0.2 EPA per play. Red zone pass, also pretty bad for Miami. So I think Miami and Denver is sort of the second tier shootout of the week. That's the one that I would go to if you're not going to going to Minnesota and the Chargers as your main one. But I think Javonte's in a good spot. I don't know that this is going to be enough money unless we go double tight end. This will give us 3,600. And then we have a $3,600 receiver. Puka Nacua. Look how pricey you are on Monday night. Let's see. Nobody too cheap here. Calvin Austin. That's also not on the main slate either. God damn it. Let's filter it out. We got to find, let's just scroll through. We'll scroll through. We'll go one by one here and see if there is a $3,600 receiver who will pass the barest of minimums. Alec Pierce with Gardner Minshew. Maybe vaguely interesting. What has he been doing on the year? Pierce. And also unclear yet if it's going to be Anthony Richardson, my beloved, or Gardner Minshew. Friday and Saturday are the main days that matter for the most part. 4 QBs coming off concussion protocol. So we will see. It does feel like they might not want to throw AR into the fire against a Ravens defense that's not great, but still certainly a professional one. Might not want to give him that one coming off a concussion without practice. So we will see, but I do think might be trending towards Minshew playing, but we'll find out hopefully within the next 48 hours. We'll definitely find out within the next 48 hours. Pierce on the year, 34 routes per game, 2.5 targets. Jesus. And Baltimore not allowing a lot of deep shots, not very bad against them either. 3% deep shot rate, -1 EPA on those plays. So he's not our guy. DJ Chark likely to get thrown the ball by Andy Dalton, which I do think will be an improvement from what we've seen from Bryce Young, who, by the way, if you talk shit about Bryce Young on Twitter, prepare for Panthers fans from all over the world just come tweeting at you all the time and going like, oh, it's not fair to be mean to Bryce Young. It's like, God, the guy's bad. He's going to get better. But you got to call a spade sometimes. And Bryce Young is legitimately playing like one of the worst QBs in the league from what we've seen so far. But also his receivers certainly not doing a lot to help him out. So Chark is playing 37 snaps per game. Jonathan Mingo is a little bit cheaper. He plays 63 snaps per game. Mingo's been awful, though, negative 0.5 EPA per target. Chark's been solid, especially compared to this god-awful Carolina offense, 0.8 EPA per target, but only 1 target per game for Chark so far. I think we go Mingo. I think this is not pretty, but I honestly think that having an adult-sized professional QB will help out Carolina a little bit. So this is my single entry team. Again, had to get ugly here with Mingo and Smythe in particular, but I do think that in this spot, for what it gets us, which is this nuts part, I think, of the Chargers-Minnesota game, I feel really good about it. So QB, Kirk Cousins, Josh Kelly, Javonte Williams at running back, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Jonathan Mingo at receiver, Hawkinson at tight end, Durham Smythe, another tight end, and then the Cardinals D in here is going to be there. Cardinals D, even with Budda Baker out, I could not care less about a single player. Defense matters a lot more schematically than a single player does, unless a single player is Aaron Donald, unless a single player is Sauce to a certain extent, though this year a little bit less so. Patrick Surtain, historical champ Bailey. But the single player just doesn't matter for a defense. And Budda Baker is just like, he's just a fucking dude with a name. Like I know people love to worry about defense, but yes, Cardinals D without Budda Baker is completely fine. The fucking other guy there, who's Gardeck or something, that dude's the one you need to actually be worried about. Like, that guy is a problem. Long-haired dude. I don't know if I know his name. I don't care about defensive players. I care about the overall defenses. That's how we go. All right. So these are the overall projections. Top projected players on the week, according to Stochastic, going to be Patrick Mahomes. So that's one, too. Hawkinson is what I went to. Travis Kelce's in a smash spot as well, too. Going against a Chicago team that on the year, one of the worst at defending everything, but especially defending the pass on the year. Chicago giving up a 0.34 EPA per dropback, a 0.38 EPA per pass. You know who they're facing now is Patrick Mahomes, who is the best at all these things and taking advantage of these things in particular. So another cheap guy that we could have gone to that was not quite as cheap, Sky Moore at 4,400, I think, is live on the year. Chicago getting strafed by targets out wide, 0.8 EPA to targets out wide. Also, they're okay against tight ends, but we know Travis Kelce's built different in terms of what he does fantasy-wise. So I know that was a tremendous cliche, but I'm holding the football, so I can get away with saying cliches like that. Point being, though, 30.5 implied points for Kansas City. Absolute boat race expected against Chicago. 13-point dogs is Chicago right now with a 17.5 point implied total. So you could take a chief, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, very cheap. Both guys still in the mix. Toney getting more targets, Sky Moore getting a lot more routes overall, a lot more snaps. So both those guys are credible. But Travis Kelce, I think if you're not going to go Hawkinson, this feels kind of like a week where I think the elite tight ends put it down because Kelce's in a really good spot. Hawkinson's in a really good spot. Those two alone could make it where if you play just pure Smythe at tight end, like he might get beaten by 10 to 15 points, which would be pretty tough to dig out of. But obviously the salary matters too. So keep that in mind. Yeah. Nobody else standing out too much here. Again, we looked at the values before, but here are your top value plays on the slate. At QB, Kirk, despite having a $6,900 price tag, is a top value on the slate. So you have to presume he's going to come up well represented when we do run the optimizer in a moment here. Tua also in a pretty good spot, too, as I talked about in the Spags rankings videos, which if you have 2.5 hours to kill this weekend, watch me lovingly rank every single player. Tua is your apex predator. He is the supreme player in the greatest spot of all. So he is certainly a guy you can go to, again, against the Denver team in a game that I think might be a little more shootouty than it would seem just based off the two teams that are involved. And Durham Smythe here, again, top value on the slate. So he's a guy that you could pair with Tua and have probably a very value-heavy stack overall. Ownership projections from Stochastic. Let's look at that right now. Top projected owned player, Justin Jefferson. Number 2, Tyreek Hill, just under 20%. So a lot of chalk going to Jefferson, as I talked about. Sometimes like a site like Stochastic will have a high ownership projection because the player's projection is so good. When you then also see on DraftKings that you see that really green, really like high, or poor rather, OPRK on there, that's what hand builders, that's what like the casual players who don't care at all about data, that's what they're looking at. So when you see it on both sides, like that's what you could expect, that this 26.8% number probably going to be at least with the field. Honestly, might be a little bit shy of the field. It wouldn't shock me to see Justin Jefferson in a third of lineups, but that is terrifying. There we go. Dan says, I watch your videos 2-0 in both my leagues, so I trust you. Good job, Dan. Good. That's all on you. I'm just reaffirming things you probably believe yourself. Keenan Allen, 18% ownership. So this is going to be pretty chalky, that Jefferson-Allen duo. We got cheaper got different rather by getting cheaper guys in. So I think that looks okay. ATN is also quietly in a pretty good spot. He's going against a Houston team. That weak spot on the year is definitely in the run defense department. Houston giving up a 0.03 EPA per rush compared to a negative 0.2 EPA per pass. Travis Etienne getting 19 intended touches per game. Etienne, I find it hard to trust. Last week was a complete dud against Kansas City. That said, they're giving them the workload. I don't think Houston is going to be able to press Jacksonville that well. Jacksonville's defense on the year, one of the ones that I think was really not great last year, but is looking a lot different, a lot better this year. So it does feel like kind of an ATN game, and worth pointing out here that he will be pretty chalky. And you can see the rest of them here. Miles Sanders, I mean, still a good matchup against Seattle. And honestly, I might get some Andy Dalton stacks just going against Seattle, because I know Seattle last week, the defense maybe didn't look quite as porous as it did the week before going against the Rams, and just how much Puka Nacua and Matt Stafford and Tutu beat them up. That said, that is a bad defense. I will stand by that. And I think attacking Seattle's defense, even though Jared Goff didn't get great results, I think that was more on Jared Goff and kind of the way that they got these guys open. And also a lot of injuries in that game at receiver and at running back. So I think that kind of hurt the opportunity for Detroit. Carolina, though, nobody's going to see them coming if they crush against Seattle. And I think that's an interesting stack to go to. All right, let's go to Fantasy Cruncher here. Let's optimize some lineups. I've been talking long enough that apparently the great page suspender turned it off. But here we go. We're going to optimize lineups. Of course, this will tell us what the pure projections are saying. Then we'll go to the Sims. We'll see what they're saying as well. But let's make sure we're over there. Okay. Slate and games. Sunday. All right. Here's our projections being pasted in. We're just going to run 25 unencumbered crunches, no stacks demanded, nothing like that, just to get a read overall on what the projections are putting together. Got to think with what we just saw from Stochastic, Kirk, Hawkinson, Jefferson going to be in the mix. Okay. Oh boy, this is tough. I have put together a very chalky lineup, it seems. I've hand-built a very chalky lineup in parts. Kirk Cousins, 100% in 25 lineups. Justin Jefferson, 100%. So that Kirk, Justin Jefferson stack ain't coming by surprise for anybody, but I still do think is a really sick stack. We'll see what the Sims say, though. The Sims are probably going to push us away, I would think, but we'll find out. Getting KJ Osborne a lot in the mix here, which I would rather have Addison, I guess, but 4K price tag, that makes sense. Again, Durham Smythe, Travis Kelce coming up. Seems like a lot of two tight end situations here. CeeDee Lamb is in a flex there. But yeah, no, there's a lot of Durham Smythe, Travis Kelce at tight end. So keep that in mind here. Cash game build, if you're going just off projections, will probably be this first one. Kirk, Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, Rondale Moore, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, Durham Smythe, and Travis Kelce. Why Drake London? And Drake got a lot of targets last week. I kind of think Atlanta Detroit skews a little more defensively minded. Maybe not like a slow down, grinded out game, but Atlanta Detroit to me kind of feels like Atlanta Green Bay did last week, where there's some production, but it's not like explosive production. It's just kind of cumulative production. So maybe that bodes well for Bijan, who projects really highly. 18.9 projection from Stochastic, 18.9 projection as well from ETR, established the run, of course. So, and also worth pointing out, Jahmyr Gibbs, projected for 16.2 by Stochastic, 16.5 by ETR. So definitely going to be highly represented as well, I would think. ETR has been 15% projected ownership. So people probably really excited to play Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know this is the matchup for him, where Atlanta's given up a negative 0.3, actually no, 0.22, EPA per rush overall. Also not a high catchable ball rate by the Atlanta defense, 62% catchable ball rate, actually worse in the league. This game could be a little bit of a slog. Maybe more checkdowns going Gibbs' way. But man, I don't know that Gibbs is a smash yet, especially if Zonovan Knight's active. Craig Reynolds, we know they trust. Could be kind of a tough spot. So if anybody is going into the Gibbs buzzsaw, just keep that in mind. He's not coming up a lot projection-wise, though, with the Stochastic data. And here's everybody else. Nothing too exciting here. Just Minnesota stacks, pretty much. So Minnesota, Kansas City, no surprise there. Two highest over-under teams. All right, let's build our pool of lineups here on the Sims. We'll try to make it represent the field. So that should be 20. Let's do 30, 30, 25. And we'll keep 15 overall. And half of them will have a bring back on. That feels about right for what the field will do. And now it's going to generate, of course, if you aren't familiar with what we do on these videos and what Stochastic does with their Sims, it's going to generate 10,000 lineups. Those 10,000 lineups are meant to represent what the field is based off Stochastic's ownership projections. So it'll give you like exposures that are pretty close to what the ownership projections are. And then what it'll do then is have those 10,000 lineups compete against each other 40,000 times in the actual simulator. So we'll do that. All right, any chats? Good chats. Spags picking on my little guy Bryce, or not your little guy, the little guy. I don't want to bully Bryce, but I am predisposed. My favorite QB in the league is 6'4", 240. Runs a 4.3. That's the kind of guy I'm looking for. I'm looking for a Porsche engine inside of a Hummer, and he is a go-kart engine inside of a go-kart. So that's pretty tough. Where's Ford ownership coming in at? I'm not crazy about Ford. I think it's more of a spot for Watson. You can see Ford here projected for 14% ownership. Let's look at the game environment for Cleveland. Also, I'm going to take questions at the end too, because I know sometimes with me just trying to make sure to keep this video as tight as I possibly can. Nice. I think I do forget to really attend to the chat as much as I like to do here on Splash Play. So Squirt Squad, you can drop your questions and I'll also hit them at the end. Matchup for Cleveland. Yeah, Tennessee's been really staunch against the run game. So I don't know that I would want to go against Tennessee. We saw it last week. And I don't think Cleveland is like the Chargers where they're going to get particularly smart about, we should just, not run the ball because Tennessee, this is the one thing they do well. Anyway, you can see the lineups that are built here. I'm not going to adjust the pool exposures. We'll just trust that it's going to be okay. Percent to first, we'll go 30 because I'm pretty sure it's 30, right? Let me make sure. Let's see, 1 million to first. Of course, 3,500. Yeah, so basically 30%. That's right. All right, 30%. Go with that. Let's run the Sims. And we'll see what they come up with. So, yeah, I think with Ford, the issue is like people might play him a little bit too much. Kareem Hunt, you'd expect him to be in pretty decent shape. They also did give him $4 million. So I think he's going to be more involved than most people would like to see. Pierre Strong still expected to be involved to some extent, though I do think Hunt kind of shunts down Pierre Strong. I would not trust Ford, and the projections too are not great for Ford. 12.04 projection on Stochastic, 12.7 projection on ETR, and he's projected for 14% ownership on Stochastic and 16 on ETR. I just don't want to walk into that one. You shouldn't expect Nick Chubb. I don't expect Ford to be Nick Chubb. I do think he'll take advantage of good matchups. The way you beat up on Tennessee, though, is through the air. So I think they put that ball into Sean's hands, and we'll see what the good Lord allows, I guess. But yeah, I think that's not the way to beat him. Keep landing on some Stroud doubles, decent value stack to get the studs. I don't know that I'd want to play Stroud in this particular matchup. And again, just Jacksonville, like we saw what they did to Patrick Mahomes. Like that was a really, really unappealing Patrick Mahomes game last week. Same thing, for AR to a lesser extent. Like I do think they coached out a good game of AR, but it wasn't like a particularly productive one relative to performing above average. So I think the Jacksonville defense, to me, kind of a stay away for pass games going against them. But they are pretty weak playing man. Play 50% of the time, giving up a 0.7 EPA on man plays. And then when they do give up a deep shot, they're getting killed by it. Only a 3% deep shot rate, 20 plus air yard throws again, but a 1.3 EPA on those plays. So maybe Stroud can get results. They have some weaknesses for sure. So maybe they can get there. It's still really low total. And I just think Jacksonville's defense is a little bit better than they probably seem. All right. 150. Let's see what the exposures are for these 150. A lot of Miles Sanders. Jesus, why so much Miles Sanders? I think this is a better matchup for the pass game than Miles, but I think that also lends some credence to what I was saying, like Andy Dalton stacks. If Miles Sanders is going to be this owned, you put Dalton with Sanders, or you put Dalton with the receivers and fade Sanders. That is one way Sanders doesn't get there. But a 15.9 projection from Stochastic, 16 from ETR. And he's going against a Seattle defense that is just like league average against the run, negative 0.1 EPA. They're just so bad against the pass that I don't know how the pass game doesn't get there. But I don't know that I believe in this Miles Sanders thing. I don't know that I believe the ownership is going to be this high. I guess the projections being what they are, that might force the ownership projections to be higher. There's a lot of Miles Sanders. I do not like that. Durham Smythe's still looking good. Let's look at our top exposure players. So who is it really forcing me to? So it is forcing me to Sanders, Smythe, Kelsey, Justin Jefferson. We are projected to be under the field on. That stinks. That stinks. The stack that I want is going to be that Kirk Cousins Minnesota stack. So here are our most stacked QBs. We got, I guess I'm not sorting the right way. 2-man stacks, getting a lot of 2-2-mans, which I do like. 2-2-mans, I think, are going to look pretty good going against Denver. Again, not a tough matchup, and also Miami's defense pretty soft too. Mahomes getting a lot of his stacks, Lamar getting a lot of his stacks, and then Cousins just less than I would think. I guess it might be the price tag. Herbert barely coming up here at all, so that's kind of surprising. I I don't love that. But anyway, your top simulated lineup, again, this is going to change over the course of the weekend. But if you just want to play a top simulated lineup, Patrick Mahomes, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, CeeDee Lamb, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Tank Dell, Durham Smythe, Travis Kelce, Commanders. So the Sims also seem like they're supporting some 2 tight end builds here, at least with the highest ROI ones. Just out of curiosity, well, no, because I think the stochastic Sims still have Bryce in. Let's see, Bryce. So Bryce Young, negative 21% simulated ROI. Maybe that'll change with Andy Dalton, but it doesn't seem like a lot of faith in the Panthers pass game here. So you'd kind of have to hold your nose if you're going to go with that Carolina Panthers pass game angle. Pretty brutal. Anything else that stands out here? Here's your highest average simulated ROIs. Smythe, Rondale Moore, Devontae Parker, Miles Sanders, Bills, Tank Dell. Again, moves out throughout the course of the weekend, so don't just like build your lineups around this, force it your way there. But this is what the Sims are saying right now. Highest stack ROI. Not a lot in QB +1. Tua, Kirk, QB +2. So it's still high ROI for Kirk. He's just not coming up as much as I would hope. Got to be the price of that stack. And then Ritter, QB +3. If you got big balls, Ritter, QB +3. Apparently pretty high ROI. Stroud, let's talk about Stroud. There you go. Stroud apparently looking pretty good if you do triple stack them, and looking okay too if you double stack them. So at least on the sim level, Stroud looking okay. All right, guys, next step in the gauntlet here. Let's go and let's draft a Battle Royale team this week. What is the prize pool? Just 30K to first, kind of a downer to see it go down, but 55% filled here. So I guess people having a little more confidence than they had last weekend while the injuries going on. Of course, if you are playing an underdog, oh no, I'm clicking the wrong things. Use the promo code SPLASH. Double your deposit up to $100. Lots of great things going on in Underdog, including if you are a new sign up now, they actually will double your deposit up to $500. I think for the next week or two. I think it's the first week of October that ends, but up to a $500 deposit match on Underdog. So play on there. Of course, a lot of fun during best ball season, as you will see here during Battle Royales. Also very fun. And as you will see with my face right now, I'm very sad to not get Justin Jefferson here because I still want this fucker, especially in a Battle Royale. I really think having him at the 101, I think would make things look a lot better. So we won't be doing that here. We'll have to get creative, I suppose. And of course, make sure to subscribe, please, to Splash Play. We are grinding here every single day. All I do is know ball and look at data and talk about it every single day at 11 a.m. So please subscribe down below. Hit the like button too. Leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. You have any questions, any thoughts, anything you want to run by me. I'm here for it. And shout out to the chat as always. Shout out to the Squirt Squad. This is all for big GPP. Can you generate something with stochastic for 50-50 or head-to-heads? You would just pull a cash game lineup. So let's see. We still got a few seconds here. So for a 50-50, you would just sort by which lineups are cashing the most. So that would be over here. Oh, excuse me. That would be over here. This would be your cash lineup they recommend. Kirk, ATN, Sanders, Jefferson, Osborne, Dell, Smythe, Kelce, Patriots. That would be the best way to build a cash lineup, is just to sort by which one cashes the most in the sim. All right. What are we going to get? I don't know that I'm going to love this spot. I feel like it's going to be Tony Pollard there for me, Bijan, both of which I think are fine. Keenan Allen, though, maybe I could go for Allen. Goff stack with Gibbs and Reynolds, with Bijan bringing it back. It's okay. I'm not sold by Goff with how he's playing so far this year, to be honest. I think he's underperforming more than people realize because the results have been okay, obviously. But I don't think he's taking advantage of the weapons he has as much as he should be, which is important because he is now in a contract year. And I think that if he does continue to kind of be mid, and somebody in the analytics department can point it out. Oh, we're going to take Kelce here. This is a smash for Kelce. 6 is even worse. There we go. There's our boy Chad Mashke in there. Of course, one of the data guys who have driven a lot of great data we use for Best Ball Mania 4. Lovingly accumulating every single Best Ball Mania 4 drafted. Our guy Chad Mashke, if you missed that part of the offseason. So shout out to Chad here in the 6 hole, and hopefully he will end up with somebody good. You got Keenan Allen there, right? You got Hawk. I honestly wouldn't hate a Kelce Hawkinson build for the flex, but whatever. Honestly, I wonder how creative that would be. There goes Hawk anyway. Doesn't matter. But Allen and Hawkinson, that's a nice start. Again, there's going to be a lot of representation for Minnesota Chargers this weekend, and there should be, because I don't know how that game doesn't shoot out even relative to that over-under. Diggs, I think, is still pretty good here. But Mahomes, obviously, the easy correlation to get. I think let's go Diggs and let's push QB, and we'll see what these guys do. Because I got to assume a Kelsey Mahomes duo going to be very chalky, which I don't mind, but I think we might want to scroll down to quote our friends over at the Badge Bros. So I'm sure I'll be streaming at some point. Actually, they're doing the stream with Pete today. Let's check out the Badge Bros later, but they always advocate scrolling the F down at some point here in the draft. So we will do that. But if I get Mahomes back at my pick, that'd be great. But I think somebody might go unstack Mahomes here. We'll find out. Battle Royale season can be tough. I don't put in a lot of Battle Royale entries because I just don't have the time to do that. And I do think the way you benefit by Battle Royales is really plugging away a lot of entries, having different looks and all of that. But people do win with one entry. So there we go. SF Nicholas takes Patrick Mahomes. Of course, you got to take him. Got to time out and take him there. Dan, you seem like a nice guy, so I won't give you my default here. Cook, Warren, or Kirk. But boy, I hate either ors. James Cook, 13.6. Warren, feeling Warren not on the main slate, so I can't look at that right now. Kirk, 12.62. I would go James Cook. All right, let's focus here. You know, Dan was too nice. I couldn't do the sick choices, man. You're gonna be fine with any of them. But for anybody else who wants to then come in and ask either ors, if you're not immediately establishing yourself as somebody that I like, you're getting that answer. So have no fear. That bit remains alive and well. Oh, Chad's got the daily BR, the daily Battle Royale data as well. So check it out in the Badge Bros Discord. Of course, part of Pete's Deposit Kingdom Discord on there too. There you go. Shout out, Dan. Shout out, Dan. All right. Allen should be available for us coming back. Wouldn't mind ATN. Would not mind ATN as our running back. What's B cross-check doing here? All right, we got ATN. Maybe this is going to be a Stroud stack. I don't mind scrolling down to get CJ Stroud because Nico, as we talked about, Nico's certainly been an apex predator in terms of how he's playing at receiver so far. One of the highest CPA marks in the league. The target volume has been tremendous. So certainly some value there. We could also take a part of Minnesota, like Addison, I think being a part of the Minnesota game, your way to get different from all the Jefferson teams and the Hawkinson teams. That's certainly another thing you could do. So this is an interesting spot to pick. And then we're going to have to scroll a little bit harder after this. All right, so we got Nico and Addison here. I know we do have Olave. I don't think this is a great matchup for Olave, is it? Green Bay. No, Green Bay getting killed by the deep ball, huh? And Olave, a couple picks after ADP. I'd prefer Nico, I think, in this build. But Olave is not a dead play by any stretch. Like, I think Olave is actually in a pretty okay spot. I do expect that game to be a little bit uglier, but it just takes a couple deep shots for Olave. And now Olave is actually getting a real complement of targets, too, besides just deep shots. So I think Olave is still pretty fine. And honestly, I guess if he came back, I wouldn't be opposed. But let's keep pushing. We'll see. I'm very comfortable pushing QB in a Battle Royale format, especially because we do have about half the teams taking a QB so far, including this guy with an unstacked QB, which we love to see. Of course, always a joy to see our QB go to another team. He did not go to a good home unless this guy gets a late round chief with it. All right, only one other team doesn't have a QB left. So he could, well, So there's a couple of different ways we can go here. Did cash my Battle Royale draft on stream last week, which thank God, because I'll tell you what, the hand-built DraftKings lineups have not been hitting with the rate that I would like. With the Battle Royales, I think you really just have to get a few decent players in the mix. You'll be good. Might bring it back with Sky Moore. Sky, honestly, kind of interesting in this format. I think Sky and Kadarius Toney, one of those guys have an outlier day if you don't have Kelsey. I think that's certainly in play. Diggs, too, I should really quickly say why I don't mind taking Diggs here. Going against the Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders, terrible defending the slot. 0.6 EPA per target defending the slot. One of the worst marks in the league. Diggs, 7 targets so far going against the slot. Or going from the slot, rather. So Diggs, certainly high volume everywhere, but I do think that in particular could give him a little bit of an edge. And obviously getting him You got to have somebody that can compete with Jefferson, with Tyreek, with Allen. Diggs is certainly one of those guys on paper, if not in this particular matchup. Still got Lamar here. It's not a bad matchup for Lamar. But Addison's just hanging around. I am going to take Addison, go to 3 receiver build. So ATN, Diggs, Nico, Addison, Kelsey. And then I think we're going to dig deep. I think we're going to scroll the F down, so to speak, for CJ Stroud will be our QB. Yeah. There's no other logical option. All the other QBs are gone that we could take. So Stroud being QB will be our way to get different. Maybe didn't scroll down enough, but I do like getting Addison at that range. Had to reach a little for Nico. I don't know how terribly unique this team will be. Though in general, I do think teams in general now seem to be building more 2 running back, 2 receiver teams. So maybe a little more unique as a result of that. All right. Now we get our QB. Let's go get our guy, CJ Stroud. How about that? Who would have ever thought CJ Stroud to be a QB you could draft in a battle royale and not feel terrible about it? But the team here in the battle royale, CJ Stroud, Travis Etienne, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Jordan Addison, and Travis Kelce. There we go. Pick'em slip time. Let's do this. All right, here's the pick'em that we're getting. This is the 100K split one, where if you enter it, you enter a sweepstakes, blah, blah, blah. Tyreek. Let me quickly just go see where Tyreek's market line is. 86.5, higher, lower on Underdog. And let's see. 84.5 for the markets with a 50% hit rate is what we were seeing with the probably data. A best bet for Tyreek at 84.5 is on Caesars, minus 135 odds. All right, so we're not going to go that way. Where's Justin Jefferson at? Let's go to Justin Jefferson. Justin. 100.5 higher, lower. I still think he smashes it. Like, he's got it. I don't care. Hires only here on the pick'em slip. But Justin Jefferson, I just refuse to believe this is not an absolute obliteration spot for him. So he's going to be the first guy we go to on this build. Who else do I really like this week? I guess Keenan Allen would be another guy that I do really like. And I feel like that Justin Jefferson line, though, is kind of a rip, if I'm being honest. Let me see what the market Jefferson line is. It can't be 100, can it? I've not done my prop checking so far for the week. Justin Jefferson's longest reception line is 30.5. So they are absolutely expecting him to go nuts. So I'm not seeing a market Jefferson line on that we have a credible probability for. So we won't go that way. Keenan Allen, though. Sorry, no, this is not the most exciting process, but we're trying to build a good pick'em slip. That's all we can do. Keenan Allen over 6.5 receptions has a 48% probability according to the markets out there. Best odds floating around a minus 115. Not the kind of bet you normally want to put in a higher, lower pick'em because of the fact that basically you want these bets to all be around a 52%, 58% probability, I believe. But we'll take the higher here because I do think it's a shootout. 99.5 on Prize Picks. Well, there you go. Play that prop on Prize Picks then. All right. Who else is interesting this week? I think Josh Kelly. Is he on here? No, he's not on here. They're not giving you Josh Kelly lines, unfortunately. We have Eckler lines. Yeah, they're just holding out the Chargers running backs. Though I would happily take an over on any of the Chargers running backs. Cousins. Let's correlate Cousins here because I think he's in a smash spot as well. I'll take the yardage. I'll take the higher on the yardage. So Jefferson, Allen, Cousins, we are building this like a correlated lineup overall. Hawkinson too, honestly, I'm happy to take a higher with him. The issue is like, I guess if Jefferson fully smashes as hard as this is going to be, he might take a little bit away from Hawkinson, but 51.5 for Hawkinson feels pretty fair, honestly. Hawkinson's market line is 50.5 as a 50% win rate. So yeah, taking the higher on Hawkinson, actually pretty solid play. Getting ripped off a little bit there. That's fine. Dotson over on receptions. Really? What's Dotson's market? 3.5. We have a Dotson prop here. We have his receiving line 42.5 as the market. Okay, 50% chance of over 42.5, and we have it as a 41.5 line. So I'm actually going to take the over on yardage for Dotson. Dotson's been playing terribly, so this would be my pick 'em, I guess. And Gavin there, give Gavin the assist because he put me on the idea for the last one. I struggle with how the build pick 'em slips out of nowhere. Like, I think that's one thing I haven't figured out a perfect process for myself. But final pick 'em slip here, Jefferson, higher, 100.5 receiving yards. Allen, higher, 6.5 receiving yards. Cousins, higher. We don't do lowers here. 289.5 passing yards. Higher. TJ Hawkinson, 51.5 receiving yards. Higher. Jahan Dotson, 41.5 receiving yards. And of course, you guys know the deal. Game responsibly, do all that stuff. You do that thing. All right, let's go over to the world of probably real fast, and we will scroll through some things. We'll check some stuff out. We'll flip the screen here. Oh boy, I did not do this correctly at all. Look, I'm inside of a phone. Look at me. Look how cool I am being inside of a phone. Of course, probably free for now. Honestly, I don't know when we're going to turn the paywall on, but it is going to be soon. So go to probably.com, check it out. But here's the best way to use Probably for NFL stuff in particular. So what you do is you filter. Actually, I'll show you guys from the start. So basically, you go to our search page, our Explorer page. Here's the home page where you can just kind of scroll through every bet you want. This is like the fun, pretty way to do it, where basically you can just kind of go through, see GIFs of every bet, every market that's available out there, our true probability. What you can do is swipe right here. It'll give you a modal that says, do you agree about this bet? It'll tell you the details. It's got a 59.4% probability at negative 170 or minus 176 odds. I gotta get the bet talking flowing out of my mouth better. But of course, we would sort by football, sort by league here. So this is like the leisurely browsing way. If you're on the toilet, you want to get some good bets in, is what I would recommend doing. If you want to use it for gathering data, and you can just scroll through, of course, take ones that are higher probably scores than lower. That means that it wins you more money. If bet infinitely, then it loses you. So for this particular bet, Steelers plus 0.5 first half point spread, that's got a 55.2% probability at minus 140 odds. So if you can find minus 140 odds on your book, you don't have to take it to Tipico, but you could go to Tipico and get the best odds right now. But of course, the way we're going to use it here is going to be by going to the Explore page, football, leagues, NFL. And here are all the games for the week. And basically, this is when I send out the Probably email later this afternoon. Get on the mailing list for Probly at probablyapp.com. What I do is do a write-up where I go through the highest probability bets for every individual game and try to determine the game flow based on what the markets are saying. So it's been something that's been really helpful for me. And I've heard back from some people in our mailing list, our wait list, that have also really enjoyed those write-ups too. So get it at probablyapp.com. I will be sending that email later today. So app, probably.com. Mailing list, probablyapp.com. Sounds really confusing. I'm not great at marketing. Dallas Cowboys money line, though, 83% chance of them winning. And then you can scroll through here, see what the plus EV bets are, get a read. 57% chance that Josh Dobbs throws an interception. So if you have the Cowboys D in your season-long league, definitely might want to play the Cowboys D. That's the kind of way to use this stuff. Let's see, Jets, Patriots. And it's pulling all this stuff, basically updates every 10 minutes, and it's pulling live as live as it can be when it does that little sync thing. Mac Jones under 1.5 passing touchdown. So expected to be low scoring in the pass game, it looks like. Garrett Wilson's market line over 3.5. Ugh. This Jets game, maybe there was a world where it's shootouts given how much the page has been dropping back, but just looks like a hideous game overall. So you'll see a lot of negative probably score bets. One like this one, of course, a positive probably score on the Zach Wilson under on his passing attempts because Zach Wilson sucks, but there we go. So a couple decent bets we found already. And again, this weekend too, when we switch on the paying customer, the paywall stuff, you'll also be able to start to sort things by the most profitable bets too. That's been a feature that we've been trying to get right because it's a little bit weird with our database setup, but it should be good to go this weekend whenever we flip the switch. Here we go. Another positive plus EV one. Kenny Pickett under 34.5. Longest passing completion, 56% probability on that one. Maybe bad news for George Pickens, but we'll see. Steelers, we talked about that bet looking good. Actually, a lot of good bets for the Steelers game. Steelers plus 1.5, 52.6% probability at minus 110. So point being, this is how you can shop on Probably. I'm not going to force you guys to just watch me keep going through here. Do it yourself. It's free. Again, like take advantage of this while it's free because you can honestly win enough money, I think, on betting these things, and then you can pay for Probably. So go to probably.com. Use it while it's free. Please check it out. Make it part of your process. Just scroll through. Even if you don't want to place a single bet, I think knowing data like this about just how games are going to perform, how the flow of things are going to go, what the market lines are, and seeing the true probability here, which we do comb from the winningest sports books around the world. This number we come by earnestly, 66% probability. That's actually shockingly low for the Eagles. So maybe the Bucks live for an upset this weekend. One game too that I should highlight real fast. There was one game that I thought was live for an upset, and I just wanted to highlight. Well, Carolina, I think is kind of live for an upset, but see about that one. Fuck, there was one that really stood out to me, and I was like, make sure to say this on the show. And then I completely forgot. Oh, Atlanta. I think Atlanta beats Detroit. I think Detroit, to me, is not playing up to snuff. And I think the fact that they have kind of papered over with wins and generalized views of success with how they've performed, that people think they're playing well. I don't think they're playing well. I think losing Montgomery is not great. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, I guess, might be going, but did hurt his toe last week. So I would say that Atlanta, to me, would be my biggest upset. So any questions? Let's do that. Any guys have any questions, any shit that I need to hit here? Let's do that before we jump off. And where am I on this? When am I? I'm so confused moving from brand to brand here, but please, Q&A. Let's do that. Also, actually, good stuff by Chad in chat here. Combinatorial tools, talking about all the stuff in Battle Royale. So check it out. Chad really dropping some gems here, but can tight end be lumped in with wide receiver as pass catchers and stacks? Yes, they should be. They're basically the same players as wide receivers, just less volume, less opportunity overall. The ones that get dicier is lumping in running backs and stacks, but still with running backs and stacks, you're trying to capture the overall efficacy of the offense, an offense having an outlier day. If an offense has an outlier day, you'll find that running backs get tagged along with receiver more than you realize. So that's why that's pretty much okay. How can we use probably for pick'ems? So the way to use it for pick'ems would be you basically go through. I would search by the event for these. So you would do like I did, where you look up Jefferson, you see what Jefferson's line is on the Underdog pick'em. You then go to the Minnesota Chargers game. You see where we have the Jefferson line. It'll tell you what the probability is. If the probability is like, again, if it's like 55%, the pick'em's a smash. If it's 50% or more, you're getting on the good side of a pick'em. If it's under 50%, I would try to avoid the pick'em in terms of our market probabilities. It's tough because I think the underdog lines are very efficient, but you'll find a few. Like we found that Dotson one. There are not a lot out there that there are actual market discrepancies for bets that have a 50% probability. There are not a lot where you're going to find Dotson at 40.5 in the market and underdogs at 41.5. So being able to take advantage of ones like that, where if the market's lower, you're trying to hit the higher. If the market's higher, you're trying to hit the lower kind of thing. Do I play on owner's box? No, I do not yet, but the stochastic sim's been doing well for those guys. So, and honestly, like it sucks because like for me, this is all a pride game. I love playing on DraftKings. When I win, I want my biggest wins to be on DraftKings, and I want to be able to put the screenshot out there and go, fuck yeah, this guy knows DraftKings. This guy's so great. That said, if you're going to put in money, if you're going to put $1,000 in either DraftKings or owner's box, especially if you're using the stochastic sims and data, you should put your $1,000 in owner's box just because they have overlay every week. It's not figured out as a format as well because it is super flex in owner's box. So I would play owner's box if you can, but it's, it's just like, what do you enjoy? Like the joy I get out of this, like, I don't want to lose money, obviously, but I'd rather lose money and play on a site that I enjoy, that gives me the experience that I want. But if you're just trying to be a grinder and win money, play on the site that has overlay, play on the site that's giving you bonuses, and that's owner's box right now. Do you have anything out there about bankroll management and DFS? No, I think it's just more about personal comfort. For me, like right now, I'll tell you guys, like just straight up, I'm playing a little bit more volume than I probably should, just because of the fact that being delayed on payroll for Football Outsiders has fucked me up. Like it's fucked up my flow here as I'm trying to pay for probably and all of that. So I've been going in heavier, and I feel good about that process. That said, like I've been getting hammered these last few slates just because of the fact that I'm trying to play low owned lineups. So a lineup that like won yesterday, normally not going to be part of my pool, at least not in the stuff that I'm throwing in the Millie Maker. So it's all up to personal risk tolerance, that kind of thing. But like it should be any amount of money that you play should be any amount of money that you can lose and just go like, well, fuck. like it hurts, but it's not going to make you not play or pay your mortgage. It's not going to make you miss your daycare payments, like that kind of stuff. So that's how I view it. But your mileage may vary. Good call. Thank you. We'll end it on that. Another good call. But appreciate all you guys hanging out with me. Of course, here on Splash Play 5 days a week, 11 a.m. or 11 a.m.-ish every day. Some days I have to go a little bit later just because of the flow of life. But please go. come along for the ride here. I think we've had some really good takes so far this season. I think I keep knocking at the door of wins every single fucking slate. And I want to have the big one because I know everybody's going to come flocking over here, no pun intended, when you have that one big win. So come along on this ride with me, and I think we're going to have some good results. And I know there's been good results for some of you guys out there, which brings me a lot of joy. Even if I'm getting smoked, I'm glad to know that you guys are having fun and actually making some lineups that are looking good and hopefully having some wins. So follow me at Chris Spags, follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And am I putting in 150 on DK? What is my here? Last question. I usually do about 40 to 50 in whatever the big tournament is, unless it is a more affordable one on DraftKings. And I'm maxing out all the 20 maxes. And then sometimes I'll throw a mini max on top of that. But this weekend, I'm doing the live before lock show for Stochastic because both the hosts are out, I guess, this weekend. So I'm going to have less volume than I would like to have. I'll probably do 20 to 50 in the Millie Maker and then 220 maxes, and that'll be it. But there we go. All right, peace out, squad. Shout out Katie. Shout out to the Squirt Squad. Of course, join down below, $4.99 a month. Squirt Squad, also, the people who join will be getting my data sheet. All the data that I talk about here, all the EPA numbers from Sports Info Solutions, everything I cobble together from Pro Football Reference, that gets going out to members on Saturdays. So go check that out. Go subscribe down below, $4.99 a month. Hit the join button, and you'll get access to me too. Happy to answer any lineup questions or whatever you have too, if you are a member. But again, follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And for the love of God, go to Probably. Go to probably.com and check it out. Give me your feedback too. We're going to have some more features coming up here, but we got to turn on revenue, try to build more shit. But go to probably.com. That is my baby. Very excited to be getting into news articles. Very excited to have people trying to partner with us and stuff. So we're figuring it out. But right now, it's a tool that's built just for you guys. It's built just for users. It's meant, we're not taking sportsbook money. This is meant to like help people get in good bets with as little effort as possible. That's what the goal is at Probably. So go check it out, probably.com, and get on the mailing list at probablyapp.com. All right, there we go, guys. Appreciate you all. Enjoy your weekends. Of course, wish you guys the best luck. If I don't take something down, I really do hope you guys do. And I'll see you guys soon. Good luck. Bye.